I'm excited for Wilder to come back. I'm excited. Like, one thing I can't deny about Deontay Wilder, he brings truly great excitement to the heavyweight division. I mean, with the way he talks, with the way he fights, and even when he was making excuses. But that was the most entertaining show in the world when Deontay Wilder was boxing. Like we say, I mean, as the time went on, it done got back to that, to where the heavyweight division starting to lift itself back up again. And I think with Deontay Wilder coming back against Helena's, great for the sport of boxing. But my thing is, where's Deontay Wilder at? How mentally focused is Deontay Wilder going to be coming back in this? We talk about you mentioned this, JJ. Deontay Wilder fought to take care of his daughter. He done did that 100 times. That's done. Wilder took how many fights him and Fury have?
Three hellacious battles.
Yeah, he took 2 bad losses to Tyson Fury. Like, so where's he at mentally? I ain't saying that you can't take losses like that and come back, but I just wonder what Deontay Wilder is. But him coming back and being in the sport of boxing, I think it's great. And then it's tailor-made them putting him with one of his sparring partners in Hellenius, a guy he knows. I think Deontay Wilder going to come back, show up, and show out.
Yeah, man. We were talking last episode about his motivation, and if it's there, like you just mentioned, now that he's arrived financially and he never, ever, ever has to worry about his family, not just his kid, not just his direct line, but his generation after, he doesn't have to worry about it. Is that motivation still there? Well, now that Usyk did what he did over the weekend, and now that we're talking Fury and Usyk, like, I think Wilder, that's a hell of a motivation. Knowing that, listen, if I get through Hellenius this year, I could possibly be in line for Undisputed. He's tried 3 times against Fury, but at the end of the day, man, like, he was still one shot away. Deontay Wilder's always one shot away. Now, I thought Fury did what a lot of people expected him to do. I know there's some people who really love Deontay Wilder and have a giant table of contents of excuses for why he didn't win. But still, if they were to fight again, Wilder's always got to be, he's always dangerous. And then if Usyk were to somehow to beat Fury, don't you think Deontay Wilder's thinking, I could beat this guy? Like, yeah. So that could be some motivation right there that maybe we weren't talking about just last week. Deontay Wilder coming out for Undisputed and shut everybody up, including this guy right here. Because I've had a lot to say about his boxing skills.
No, and I agree, because when I look at Deontay Wilder, his fighting style, I think he has a better chance than Anthony Joshua did against Usyk. Anthony Joshua is real fundamental, straight up and down. Deontay Wilder is what I call erratic, and he's a guy who's erratic with power. So I think that's probably be a tailor-made matchup. Because let's be honest, we did see Anthony Joshua lay some punches on Usyk. But now when I look at Deontay Wilder, I look at this guy as the hardest hitting heavyweight in boxing, right? I mean, Tyson Fury was able to take it. That just show how great Tyson Fury is.
Yeah.
But Usyk is a guy like who right there for him, and I think that's a good fight. I ain't saying I'll pick Deontay Wilder. I think Wilder better chance than Anthony Joshua.
Like 90% of the time, I will pick the boxer versus the power puncher. But for that fight, if that fight were to happen, Usyk versus Wilder, like we talking about Usyk being the naturally smaller man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the dude could box, but Jesus, dude, if Deontay Wilder would have landed one punch right there, we were talking about Deontay Wilder being an undisputed champion of the world.
No, seriously,
dude, it could happen. And again, I'm one of Deontay Wilder's biggest critics for what happens in the ring, and a little bit of, yeah, everybody knows that. But if Deontay Wilder to really, really, really put on his big boy pants and go out there and bust his ass against Robert Helenius. Don't, hey, in my voice of Coach Silas, hey, Helenius is no easy peasy, no easy peasy whatsoever, man. He'll ruin your plans real quick. Ask that Polish or Kowalski or the babyface, whatever. You know, he'll ruin your plans real quick. But if Wilder comes out the way we know Wilder can be, you know, even though he didn't win those fights against Fury, he was prepared for those fights. If he comes out with that mindset and he beats Helenius, dude, Wilder could potentially be, and again, this is the Mr. Boxing Purist who hates Wilder's style and everything. Wilder could line himself up to be undisputed champ of the world.
Yeah, I agree, JJ. You're right on the money with that because look, Wilder is #1 rated in the WBC. I don't think that Tyson Fury will be clapping his hands, stomping for joy, and stomping his feet to come back and fight Deontay Wilder again. I don't think that makes sense for Tyson Fury. So I think with him retiring, Deontay Wilder being #1 in the WBC, boy, that is the matchup right there. And I'm with you, bro. I like Usyk. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
But Deontay Wilder power is something serious.